Hi, this is a short tutorial on how to use the teacher feedback form developed for the schools that I work with. The first thing that you'll do is you should receive a username and password from your special education teacher, as well as the link to either this site, which is, as you may notice, brightidea.com, or hopefully you should get one that takes you directly to the general education teacher feedback form. If you go to brightidea.com, notice if you hover over software access and come down here to Bright Idea custom processes and click on that, it'll bring you over to the general education feedback form. This form is developed not with the expectation that you'll be using it on your phone or your tablet. It really is designed for use on a computer screen. So if you try to use it on your phone or tablet, it might work, but I wouldn't hold my breath. So anyway, you should be taken directly to this page, and it should ask you for a login. So I have a login developed for these purposes called Demo Teacher. So you'll have to put in your username and password, click Submit, and if you would like to, if you have some kind of password reminder, you're welcome to use it. I'm not going to in this case. So as you can see, I already added a sample student here, but I'm going to add a new student to give you an idea of how all of this works. So I come up here and I click Add New, and it pops open a new window, puts my name in, asks me what subject I teach. I'm going to pick social studies and maybe ELA. Student name is Sally Sample, and notice it defaults with today's date. So I hit save, and up here at the top it tells me enter the data below and click save. Once saved, choose edit at the top of the page. So I've already added the student. It gave me a new blank page here. So now I want to click edit, and it takes me over to the page where I will enter the data that is needed by the special education department. Here, the very first thing it asks you is what is the student good at and enjoys doing in the school. The reason we need this is it helps us better identify supports for behaviors, but it also gives us an idea for transition planning for the future so that we can help the student and play to their strengths. The next thing it asks are what are the students' current grades and progress or progress in classes. If you have the current grades, just place, language arts currently receiving B-, social studies currently receiving A+ or C- or whatever the case may be. You can put in percentages as well. It's pretty open to whatever you want to put in there. The next piece is referring to this field, and it asks, please check how grades are augmented below. Sometimes we augment grades without realizing it by giving students the opportunity to only do part of the work, or allowing them, when everybody else has to do a 5-paragraph essay, they have to do a 3-paragraph essay, or when everybody else is reading, call it courage, that student might be reading The Giver, or something of that nature. Probably not the best example because they're both actually about the same level. Nonetheless, you get the point. So the student grades reflects augmentation based on effort. So if you're only if you know the kid's really working hard and you're kind of giving an E for effort, it's okay. Just notify us and let us know you're doing that. So checkbox any of those, or student follows an off-grade level curriculum. Student is graded only on work completed. Student's grades are not augmented in any way. So in this case, we'll just say that. And then in the academic areas, we need you to respond as best you can, and we don't expect you to be reading specialists necessarily, but as best you can based on your experience with the student. Can the student read fairly fluently? Can they keep up with the class when they're reading? Or do they avoid it, and does it take them a very long time to read something? So the way this one works is you click on the drop down here. Student is able to read fluently at grade level. Might be the case. Student is unable to read fluently at grade level, or reading fluency is not a skill assessed within this content area. This is a kind of a get out of jail card option here, and it's an option on all of them. You can choose, and it gives you the opportunity to say, I'm a math teacher, I don't really have a lot of fluency experience with this kid. So I'm going to click student is unable to read fluently at grade level to show you what happens. When you click that one, it gives you a list of examples and ideas of kind of what we're looking for. So student is able to read approximately 50 to 70 words per minute on grade level text. And notice it's always on grade level text. So if you're a 10th grade teacher, it's against 10th grade level text, not 4th grade if that's where the kid can read. I need to know how the kid is doing against grade level text. So we'll just pick one of those, move to reading comprehension, and we're going to say unable to comprehend grade level text. And it gives us a whole bunch of options here. Pick the ones that make the most sense. You can pick multiple. That's why they're check boxes. And the more details you give us through these kinds of things, that helps us better understand what we need to do to help the student. So we'll pick 2 or 3 of those and move on to vocabulary and so forth all the way down. The math calculation is a little different because it is based on primary, upper elementary, middle school, or high school. This is based on the student's grade level. And so if you're a high school math teacher, then you need to be referencing the ones for the high school level, middle school, upper elementary, and so forth, based on the grade level that you teach and the grade level that the student is currently enrolled in. Moving down beyond that, how do behaviors interfere? So we're looking at peer interactions, how they interact with peers, has difficulty with peer interaction. And again, it'll give some options here. Organizational skills, this is a school-based behavior. And so rarely begins without prompting, rarely follows instructions, and so forth. You can dig around in these if you want to too. And if you feel like there's something missing in the drop check boxes, you can notify me. It's rsmith@simpatico.com. Your front office folks and your administrators will always have my contact information. Same here. This is sensory management. Student might be overly jittery, might be having issues with any number of being able to focus, or getting really agitated as the day goes by, those sorts of things. Those can all be sensory issues. So don't be afraid to click on it. If you click on it and you're like, gosh, that doesn't really count for this kid, come up here, click on that, it removes it, and you move on. So there's a lot of flexibility in this system. Identify the frequency with which the behaviors above occur. So do they happen 1 to 2 times per week on average, like leaving his work home? If that's what you marked above, work habits doesn't put effort in completing classwork, for instance. That happens a couple of times per week, happens once or twice per month, happens daily, happens more often, or atypical behaviors are rare and do not hinder the student's ability to get along. That's kind of, again, the get out of jail free card. Finding gross motor, again, we're looking for handwriting, or if they're if they lose their balance easily, that kind of thing. Speech is specific toward articulation and fluency. So if they're not grade level, if you have a hard time understanding the student, if they stutter, anything like that, this gives you some options that you can check off to give to give us feedback on what we need to be focusing on and where it's interfering in the classroom. Similarly here, language is expressive and receptive. You give him an instruction, and he or she gives you a blank look the first several times you give it. That's kind of the expressive receptive language. That's really receptive. Not being able to explain what they want, not being and getting frustrated with that sort of thing. Adult support needed. What we're really looking at here is like a parapro support for a student who has behaviors that in which another student could get hurt, or that student could get hurt, or in a situation where the student is unable to progress in the curriculum simply because too much going on, he can't focus, may or may not be adult support. So if you have questions, call us, email us, talk to your special ed teacher, talk to your special ed parapro. So needs additional adult support. There's some options that you can choose under that. Assistive technology. Do not be afraid to mark this. Assistive technology can be using the reading program. For instance, I'll give you an example of assistive technology up here. I can come down here and highlight this and come up here and hit Speak It. And that's an example of assistive technology. If a student doesn't read at grade level and you're giving them To Kill a Mockingbird and they can't do that, you know that they can't do it, but if they hear it, they could get it, then that's assistive technology. So if you click on that, it will drop down options. If I click on the right one, or not, needs assistive technology to be successful. Obviously I have a glitch, so I have to fix that one. So adaptive or specialized furniture, these are accommodations that you find the student helps the student be successful. Again, sometimes these include assistive technology like dictate writing to a scribe or a recording device or speech-to-text software. Finally, down here at the bottom, any notes, anything that you can tell us that would help the student be more successful. Now, throughout this process, the program has been saving in the background. Don't trust that and simply leave the page. You always want to end by hitting Save at the bottom. It will bump you to the top and it will tell you up here that the record's been updated. Once you see that, you're good to go. You just scroll to the bottom, hit Back to List, and Sally Sample is good to go, and all we have to do now is go in and gather that data. Really makes a big difference in how much time it takes for us to complete the significant amount of paperwork in special ed. Please let me know if you have any questions about this process. Me being Ryan Larkin Smith, you can email me, you can call me. Again, your front office people and your administration always has my phone number and email address. Please don't hesitate to use it. And thanks so much for your time. Hope this is helpful.